Hi guys, this video will be a recipe video, me showing you how I do my stuffed bell peppers, and you're more than welcome to switch around any ingredients that you would like. So first I'm going to be using cream cheese. I got this one from Walmart. You can choose any other place. It is an 8-ounce, and I'm also going to be using 6 bell peppers, the larger ones, not the really small ones, 1 tomato, and about the rest of this spinach bag, which is, I would say 4 ounces, 3.5 ounces, a little bit less than half. And I will also be using green onions. I'll be using 4 of them. And I'm just showing you here. I pick out 4 specifically. You can add or subtract any of these ingredients. I will also be using shredded cheese. I got this bag from Walmart. I like the mixed shredded cheese. And I'll be using a little bit less than half of this ground beef, a lot more fat than lean, of course, because that is more of the keto vibes. And then I just cut the bell peppers in half, and I clean out the inside and just remove the little root. And I can't have any of the seeds in there. If you like them, that's fine, but I just can't have them. And I just go in and start cutting up my green onions. And I like to use most of the green onions. I would say about 3/4. I'll leave most of the end of the green onions off. So I just slice them. You can slice them thicker or thinner. It's really your choice. I just go with a nice medium slice. And that's all I really put for the entire dish. And now this dish that I will be making will fill the entire 6 bell peppers. If you cut them in half, they will become 12 halves. And I usually eat 2 of them, sometimes even 1, because I get so full. But with 2 of them is a full dish with a salad on the side. It's perfect keto friendly dish. And I do use a tomato. It is just 1 tomato that I'm using for the entire dish. If you are very strict keto and you want to stick to your macros and a tomato doesn't fit in your macros, that is totally fine. You can opt out of this. I love tomatoes, so at least I can put 1 in there just to remind me of how good tomatoes are. So I just chop them off and I put them to the side. Now the onions I will put in first with the beef, and the tomatoes will go with the spinach. So I put those separate, and I put that towards the end, almost when it's all done cooking, so they can still keep a nice texture to them. So now I grab the spinach that was in the bag and I start chopping it. It doesn't really matter how you chop it. Spinach, once it's cooked, it starts to become almost nothing. So it really doesn't matter. I just didn't want that much bulk in the pan, so I just chopped it off a little bit. And then I just grabbed the remaining spinach. You can always add a ton more spinach. It is your choice on how much spinach you want to add, or any other veggies that you would like to add. Definitely go for it. I just keep it very simple so that both my kids can eat it and they'll enjoy it. If I start making too many switches, I'm not sure if they'll still eat it. So now I first go in and I heat up the pan, and I make sure I put the onions first. I do not put any oil because, like I said, the meat I am using has a lot more fat than lean. It is about 27% fat if I am correct. So it will release a lot of oil, and there's no need for you to be eating a very oily stuffed bell pepper. So I do not put oils. I just put the meat right on top of the onions and I let that simmer. And as you can see, I used half, a little bit less than half. I still have that whole amount to make a whole separate dish. And that is about a 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds that I used. This is 5.5 pounds that I bought. So I used a little bit less than half. And like I said, it's really your choice how much you want to add in or take off. You can do ground chicken, you can do beef, you can do steak, you can do any kind of meat of your choice. But I like to do beef. I switch it up sometimes with steak. It tastes so good with like carne asada or anything like that. It's so good. And I just make sure I cut in the chunks to start resolving them. I do add garlic. It is to your choice, any of these seasonings. This is pink Himalayan salt. Remember, you can taste it and see how much. I never really measure these things. I just go with it. Italian blend is the next spice that I'm going to use, or season, you can say. Now I'm going to use black pepper. And you can honestly add any seasonings that you personally like. But this is the ones that I add here. I keep it as simple as possible. And I just move it around and make sure I break it down to make it as even as possible. That way there's no big lumps or anything like that before I add the cream cheese. And I just keep cooking it until it turns almost fully brown. And as you can see, I did add the seasonings after it started cooking. I don't like to add them when the meat is still raw. I like to add them when you can still see a little bit of pink. It's just the seasonings just tend to hold on better and taste better in my opinion. Then I add the spinach and the tomatoes. As soon as I think I am almost done, and right before I add the cream cheese is when I add the spinach and tomatoes. And I just mix it around to make sure that they get a nice even coat of all the meat around the veggies. And as soon as that's done, this is when I'm gonna cut the cream cheese into cubes. I just cut it into cubes because it's a lot easier to mix and to have melt in the pot. You can't just put it whole in there, but it's a pain. So I wouldn't recommend that. But yeah, I put the cream cheese right on top. I scrape off any extra. Now on this one, I didn't have a full 8 ounce, so I put whatever was left and I grabbed from a different one a little bit more. And I just move it around. I make sure it gets heated and I move it around. I do a lot of mixing. And it is, honestly, this mix is so simple and it tastes amazing stuffed in the bell peppers. It is so good. It does not taste so like creamy as you would think. And it doesn't taste so meaty because I don't really like a lot of ground beef. The taste of it just, or pepperoni is just the taste of it ever since my pregnancy. My last pregnancy is just, I don't know. I haven't liked this. So this just tastes so good to me. And this is how it should look when it's done. It should look exactly like that. Now you can use a cookie sheet and just put aluminum foil, parchment paper, whatever you would like to put on top to not mess up your sheets is perfectly fine. And now I'm going to grab my halves of bell peppers and I'm going to organize them in whatever way works for me. I like to put them so that they're not depending on another bell pepper to lean on. I like them to have their own space and just move them around to how they fit. If you want 2 sheets to have them more spacious, that's totally fine. They shouldn't leak. If they do, it's just barely anything. So don't worry about that. I just like to give them room to stand on their own. And now I'm going to go in with the shredded cheese. This is when I add the shredded cheese. I don't add it to the mixture because I'm already using cream cheese and that's so much dairy already as is. So I just add a little bit. This is all I add in the bottom because when you cut these, when you're eating them and you cut them open, that cheese is so gooey and so delicious and thick. It just tastes so amazing on the bottom. So I sprinkle that amount. I don't measure it. It is your choice if you want to add this or not. But this is what I love to do. Then I will be scooping in the mixture that I did of the beef and cream cheese. And you can definitely use a spoon. I just used what I had. I didn't want to dirty another spoon, so that's why it looks like I'm going to be making a big mess, which is totally fine because I still scoop it up and eat it when I do the peppers. Now, normally when I first started doing these peppers, I would sprinkle a ton of cheese on top afterwards to just have a nice coated cheese on top. But I realized that every time I would do that, when I would take out the bell peppers, it'll be very crusty. It'll be a very crunchy crust of cheese on top. And I don't like that because when you're cutting in, you don't want to, unless you like that crispiness, then I go for it. You can even add bacon to this if you would like. But I didn't like that, so I only sprinkle a very small amount on top just to have that cheese flavor and have it nice and melted. Now you can avoid this by lowering the temperature by starting off with 350, which is what you will put it in at first. Preheat at 350, put it in for 20 to 25 minutes. Now you can cut that time and lower it, but I really don't have time for that. I cook and I put things in the oven and I finish cleaning and organizing my kitchen before my kids come from school, and I just have to have dinner ready. So you can do that and it will come out really good, but I like to throw things in the oven or in my crock pot and be done with it. So I'm just showing you in the pan the rest that is left. It completely fills up 12 halves of bell peppers, the exact amount I use. So like I said, if you do more peppers, I would suggest you add more meat and more cream cheese and so on and so forth. And I just sprinkle that small amount of cheese on top. You can add any other toppings that you would like on top. After I put this in the oven at 350 for 20 to 25 minutes, you just keep an eye after like, I would say 18 minutes to 20 minutes. Keep an eye, check it out, see if it's exactly to your liking. You can also heat the peppers ahead of time if you want them extremely soft, but I like them just like this. This is the end result. I really hope you guys like it. I top it off with sour cream and it tastes amazing, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching.